Shalom, Yasharallah, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM WACHAKWADASH, Call Halal, Yam, Allah, YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM WACHAKWADASH. Now, this lesson will be on the MOTB, which we know as the mark of the beast. We understand that we're living in the times where they call it the famine of the word, where that's soon to come. We know that prophecy has not fully came to pass yet in Babylon, aka America, right? And we also know that in that prophecy it's also going to implement the understanding of, like our Lord Yahawashi said, that some of us should be cast into prison or put to death. So I'm going to get into this understanding. We're going to get into what is the mark of the beast. And we're going to start off with Revelation 13 and 15. So it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. So we get the understanding that, this beast, we know it's the Roman Empire. And the beast, remember it said that he was wounded, but his wound was healed, right? And we know that going into Great Britain, the British Empire, and now, which is the mother of the harlot, but the daughter of Babylon is aka America, right? The United States of America, which is the daughter of Babylon. So when it says he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, now we know that they're now starting to issue out, AI. Now I'm not saying that the image of the beast is AI, right? But if you've been noticing, if you look at a lot of the things that they speak on about the fourth industrial revolution, which we will get into this lesson. We will get into that into this lesson. It talks about technology, being mixed into society on a larger scale, larger than what we think. When they talking about people no longer want to need phones or computers, where they can just think it in their mind. They're going to mix society with AI, right? So, and with all the gods that they worship, they can mix that understanding with, AI as well. People are already using it in the society to this day. And there's a lot of things going on while everyone is, very... See, what people don't understand is that when it comes to AI, many people make, fun of it, of course. Because they say, oh, how stupid it is. They expect it to be on point. It's kind of like when people use ChatGPT to look up things. They expect, oh, AI told me. Well, all AI does is that it will take understanding from other sources and compile it into a summary for you, right? So what the people that created AI, what their understanding is that they're not looking for it to be the smartest, or they're looking for it to be how much is it able to learn, how fast is it able to learn. And AI is learning very fast. Over the years, what I would say over the past couple of years, we have seen AI gradually become more studious in society, even to the point where now they're making robots that's just running around the neighborhoods of people, towns and cities and states where people are playing with them. China, they already got them dancing, and fighting and things of that nature. So they're getting ready for something that a lot of people don't really understand. And we, as the prophets of YAHAWASHI, are now supposed to give that understanding to the people, to warn the people. We know the scriptures talks about blowing the trumpet, warning the people, so that when that great time come, all hell breaking loose, the evil time, the hour of temptation, that those that trusted and believed on YAHAWASHI, will be protected in that day, Yahweh willing. Yahweh willing that we be of the elect, so that we can be protected, our families, our children, even a lot of the brothers that we hang ourselves around, pray for them as well. But anyway, let's keep reading. It says, And this is going to be a little long lesson. So, go and take out your notes. You know what I'm saying? Write down the things that need to be written down. And of course, if you want, if you need more precepts on this understanding, you can text me in the comment section and stuff like that. Put it down in the comment section, your questions or whatever it may be. And, let's get edified. So, we're going to read it again. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great. So small and great, right? Rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. So you got to understand that this means that when they go out and say, give the people the mark of the beast, which is, we're going to get into how that is the microchip. Now they call it by many different names. We're going to get into that, with Elon Musk and technocracy, all these things. We're going to get into that. Like I said, the fourth industrial revolution, we're going to get a little bit into that as well, just to give you an understanding of what's coming. They're already trying to set up a new banking system where it will be, based off of digital currency, So these are the things that they're going to use, which they already is getting ready to implement soon, where, it's going to start off, most likely it might start off as just something to, obtain. But then it's going to lead into when it's mandatory. See, when it becomes mandatory, then the hour of temptation would definitely be shown. The family of the word, which they're already starting to cut off people, channels and pages because they speak this truth. Because the truth is speaking against the system, the kingdom of Esau, right? Edom now is in Babylon, which is America, right? And we know that they rule in this place highly. And they're getting ready to cut off people. Now, just like Canada, they issue out a C9, bill where basically, or a law that's implementing that no one can, and look at that right there, 144, call Lord YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI AhBa RaTazah, they would be of the elect, right? But anyway, like I was saying, Canada already issued out a law that, all religious things and all these other things cannot be spoken of. It's considered hate crime and you can be prosecuted for it. But when they start implementing that people going to be put to death for it, then we have to understand the times we're living in, and we need to understand the times we're living in now. People don't want to hear these things and they don't give a damn, but they're going to soon realize why they should have listened, to the things and the times that we're living in. Everybody have their opinion, and some things could be reasonable, but we got to understand that certain things are just not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Everybody think they're going to be able to protest and fight against the system. Y'all cannot do that. It's just not going to happen that way. YAHAWAH BAHASHAM already gave us the understanding of what we're supposed to do. That we wait upon the Lord. That so when he returns, he's going to deliver us, Lord willing, he deliver us up into the chariots, and he's going to destroy our enemies, right? So look, they said both rich and poor, small and great, free and bond. And I was trying to look for the article. I couldn't find it because I was going to put it in this lesson where they're already saying that they're thinking, and I'm doing my fingers, so they say they're thinking about, microchipping prisoners, to and we most likely a lot of them is going to take it because a lot of these prisoners, they've been in here for 20 to 60 years, 30 years, some of them got life, they don't know, especially a lot of those people that's been in prison for so long, they don't get to see all of what society is today. They got nothing else to lose. So most of them will take it, they will take it for what? For benefits, to continue eating. Remember they said you cannot buy or sell unless you have this, and we're going to get into that. So it says, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So one thing I give people understanding of, buying and selling has a lot to do with economics, right? The economy, and an economy falls when no one is working, right? When no one's working, your economy crashes, because if no one's working, that means no one's getting paid And that means that many things within your economy cannot produce enough for the society, and the society will eventually die out, due to starvation. Of course, that's going into famine. Sicknesses will rise up because no one is, making medicines anymore. You know what I'm saying? People won't be able to travel to whoever they will be able to. You know what I'm saying? All these things is what makes an economy. And we can talk about more, even the money system. Now, a lot of people say, oh, the prices are going up. The prices are going up. It's not that the prices is going up. It's that the petrodollar, if I said it wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. But, the value of the dollar is going down. So it's not that the prices are rising. It's just that the value of the dollar is going down because the United States, they're going to fall. If people know about the money system, they'll understand, a lot more, especially when people say, oh, I'm working, and I'm not getting paid enough. Or if according to certain laws, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, they say that, when it comes down to inflation, that they supposed to, if you're working, you're supposed to be getting paid a little bit more. But people are saying they're not getting paid enough. And look at Esau, the so-called white man, they are the ones that's really fed up with this. Because they never been through this thing before. They thought that when they, voted for, Trump or whatever, even though he was going to be elected anyway, they thought that he was going to, cast out who they thought, was taking all the jobs and everything, and they was going to be able to receive all these benefits. Now, understanding that most of his followers are not even living in high places. And what I mean by that, they're not even rich. Most of them is living in gutters. So whatever Trump does, according to what he issues out and the bills that he issue out, that what they like to say, that big, beautiful bill, it damages them. It affects them, right? So because it's affecting them, now they're fed up. Now they're mad. And this is what's going to implement, that civil war. But a lot of the race wars too, because instead of them blaming it on the man that's doing all these wicked things, they like to take out their anger towards our people, and a lot of our people is going to try to go and fight as well, due to trying to save this place. This place cannot be saved. It needs to be destroyed. It's filled with wickedness, stupidity, confusion, from head to toe, from male to female, from young to old. All is doing wicked. People, little daughters, they fast as hell, and this is nothing new. See, and a lot of people say, oh, they was doing these things back then. Exactly. But look how no generation changed. Look how every generation became more wicked, waxed more stupid. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter who the hell did something before. It's the fact that nothing is changing. Everything is just becoming worse. So that lets you know that there's no righteousness here, right? And nobody cares. Nobody gives a damn. No one cares, all right? Majority of you people in this place, Babylon, don't care about the times we living in. Y'all believe it's not going to come to pass. But just like the Lord said, just because you don't believe, does that make it of none effect? It said, God forbid, right? So just because you don't believe these things doesn't mean it's going to stop prophecy, right? All of you didn't believe, it didn't stop, a lot of the plagues and famines and all these things coming on the earth at the times that we said it would come, even if we didn't know the time. We said that these times will come, and now we in it, and you still don't believe, right? But it's most likely because it's already made for you not to believe. It's only given into the hands of the elect. That's why we say AhBa RaTazah, that we be of the elect, Lord willing, because it's only of his will. We pray for mercy and compassion, and we have hope in the salvation, faith, and most of all, we have to have charity. The joy, the willing of heart of this truth, the joy of this truth, the love of the truth. But anyway, it says that no man might buy or sell. So again, that means that you won't be able to, I like to say, participate in society, participate in the economy. You won't be able to, if you can't buy or sell, clearly that's dealing with income. And that means that you cannot what? You most likely won't be able to work. And if you can't work, you're not making any money, especially if you got a family, you need to feed them. It's going to make a lot of people bug out, freak out, and want to cause a havoc. But what do you think they're going to implement? Martial law. Now, for a lot of you that's not paying attention, because y'all only watch things when y'all see it on the news. But when you don't see it no more, you don't care about it no more, right? Because you think it's done now. All the things they're doing is not over, Now, for a lot of you that don't know, now we know that Trump gave billions of dollars to, ICE. And so that means that they can make anything they want. And now, even the military, they're already starting to implement, robotic machinery into, their, into their military, industry, where they're building, more drones and stuff like that. But, they can't go to war with Iran, right? They gonna lose that war. You know what I'm saying? We already know this. We already know the prophecies. But who they are gonna go to war with is their own people. Because like the scriptures say, the devil knows his time is short. It's gonna bring great wrath upon the people. Roughly paraphrasing. So who's these people that the devil's gonna bring great wrath upon? His own citizens. Right? His own citizens. So that means when all hell break loose, or what we like to say the Black Swan event, right? That means that in unpredictable event that hits so crazy, it's so catastrophic that it's hard to just heal from, and mind you, even if we're talking about a lot of the United States military weapons that have been launched over there and been destroyed by Iranian Sahar drones, right, that cost what they say like 20,000, maybe 15,000, compared to United States military equipment, that costs up to millions of dollars getting destroyed, because it's cheap material, just to make it look good. But, they doing all these things. What do you think they're going to do upon their people when they start to see that, our people ain't with us? We're losing our citizens. People are starting to protest more. Cities are going more wild. They call it teenage takeovers. You got teenagers in different cities. You know what I'm saying? They taking over malls and robbing stores. More people are dying. More of our people are being lynched. You know what I'm saying? And we told y'all that this is the time where Jacob's trouble is going to hit its peak. Whenever time is going to hit its peak, a lot of our people are going to be destroyed. Because they didn't trust in YAHAWAH. So anyway, and again, most people don't want to hear these things because they want to hear, like the scriptures say, they want to hear sweet things and smooth things. They love to hear things like, they don't want to hear the truth that these things are coming, and and a lot of these things are already here, but they don't want to believe it. So they make themselves ignorant, and they close their eyes and shut up their ears to the truth. They walk away. You know what I'm saying, from it. They don't want to hear it, but it's okay. Like the Lord said, he gets into an understanding of how it's going to be a rude awakening. It's going to be a rude awakening for a lot of people that wants to be at ease in this place, because they think this place will last forever, right? So anyway, it says, Revelation 13:18. Here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, right? So 666, right? Now, if we go into the Strong's G5516, right, we get high stigma, right? That's the letters that John the Revelator, used, but when they translated it into Greek, they seen how it was, what it says part of speech right there, it says numeral, right? So it's a numeral value. So it's not the actual letters, but it's the understanding of the numbers. So when we get into that stigma, right, which is the literally that letter that you see, right, the root word etymology, it says from a primary stizo, right? Stizo, to stick, i.e. prick. That means if you're sticking something or you're pricking something, right, like a needle that goes into an arm, right, or when you put something in a hole or something like that, right? It says a mark pricked in or branded upon the body. So it's already showing you that he understood that this is going to be, when he saw through his vision that people are going to be being pricked with a certain thing to become what? A part of the beast system, which, I call it, for a lack of better terms. Of course, they're not going to call it the beast system. You know what I'm saying? They may call it something else. But in order to be all these things, this is what they say. Now, it says, to ancient Oriental usage, slaves and soldiers bore the name or the stamp of their master or commander, branded or pricked, cut, right? See, cut into their bodies to indicate what master or general they belong to. And there were even some devotees who stamped themselves in this way with the token of their gods. So as you can see, they did these things in the ancient times to represent whoever they were under. But now, in this society, they're going to microchip the people, right? If they call it RFID chip, BISC, the Neuralink by Elon Musk, and other names that they give it, the brain, the micro brain chips and the chips they're going to put in people's hands. All these things they're already preparing for, especially in this time. And we want to get into that 6G too, where 6G is all about, implementing AI and robotic technology into the system, into the societal system of biology, which means what? People, right? The people. So as we can read, it says understanding of the times. So that's what I put. It says, what is the fourth industrial revolution? The fourth industrial revolution, also known as Industry 4.0 or 4IR, is the ongoing technological era characterized by the fusion of digital, physical, and biological systems. So as you can see, let's go here to this website and let's read. It says, coined by World Economic Forum founder Klaus Schwab. So let's go down and let's read what they got. It says core driving technologies include artificial intelligence, of course, and machine learning. It says driving, automation, predictive analytics, and large language models across industries, right? Then they got the Internet of Things. See, and that's what this Internet of Things, they're trying to take away what the Internet is now to create this Internet of Things, right? That's what they call it, IoT. So it says smart devices and connected machinery that allow physical objects to gather and exchange data, right? So let's see what they're talking about right there. Let's get the understanding. Actually, hold on. Let's keep reading. It says robotics and autonomous systems, advanced adaptable robots that work alongside humans in manufacturing, healthcare, and logistics. It says biotechnology and genetics. It says advancements like CRISPR or CRISPR and low-cost gene sequencing that allows scientists to edit the building blocks of life, which means, if you don't know what biotechnology is, that's another word they like to call for transhumanism, right? Where they want to mix, AI with man and create transhumanism, where AI and, what they like to call cyborgs, but they mixing AI with man, putting them together, because that's what remember, they want to be like the Most High. Just like the Most High made a covenant with his people, here come Esau, with the beast. They're trying to make a covenant with everyone else. And how do you make a covenant? We know that even when a man and a woman is married, they have to lay down. That's what consecrates the marriage. So we understand it's the same thing for them. They're trying to prick the people, stick in, put a chip into the people so that they can become one. Like they said, to monitor them and all that. And they've been coming out with a lot of videos where they'll show like somebody that's very deformed, you know what I'm saying? Or their brain is not, they have different brain issues or things of that nature. So they'll chip them and they say, oh, I can write now, or I can draw now, or I can do this now, So who you think is really going to go for these things? Elderly. And, they're going to give it to their children. That's why in the schools they're teaching their children, a whole bunch of false things. They're trying to take away much history and alter it. And you're just letting your children eat up the knowledge of fools, the knowledge of wickedness, which is going to make them think that this society is great. Much of the parents ain't telling their children what's going on in the earth. Most of these children don't know that America going to war with Iran is prophecy, and all hell is finna break loose soon. No one's telling their nieces or nephews these things, their sons, their daughters these things. No one. Their guardians or whatever, the people that they over. And that, they're not telling the people these things. They're not warning the people. So it's going to be a rude awakening in a time of chaos, utter chaos, because people are going to be living regularly, and then all hell just going to break loose. That's why it's called all hell breaking loose. It's going to be at a time when no one expected it. So anyway, it says physical digital coverage. It says technologies like 3D printing, augmented reality, AR, virtual reality, VR, and advanced materials, right? So as you can see, it says so they say the first industrial revolution harnessed water and steam power to mechanize production. Second, utilize electrical power to create mass production. Third, right, use electronics and information technology to automate production. And that's where we at right now. We in the third industrial revolution, but they're getting ready to get into the fourth, which is going to be the last according to prophecy. Because after this microchipping, after this mark of the beast, that's it. Those that take it will be destroyed, like the scriptures say. Their names have been taken out of the book of life. Because if they take it, that means they already wasn't the elect anyway. And a lot of people are going to take out of fear when they start cutting off people's benefits. A lot of people that has benefits, a lot of people that have jobs, when they start cutting off those things, a lot of people is going to run to take these things because they're going to make the excuse, I got to do this for my family, right? Or I got to do this for my children. Or I got to do this for my grandmother or grandfather that's sick. Because they don't trust in YAHAWASHI. Many people, even in the truth, that claim to be in the truth, don't even trust in the power of YAHAWASHI. They don't understand that the Most High is spiritual power that cannot be understood. He has done things in the scriptures that we're supposed to be remembering, reminding ourselves of, that there's nothing impossible with the Most High. If he want to teleport you here or there, he can. If he want to heal you, he can. If he wants you, just like YAHAWASHI, he healed the blind man, right? He made him to see. The man that was lame, he told him to stand up and walk. So we got to understand that many powerful things will come in that time for those that trust in YAHAWASHI. So anyway, there was a certain thing I was going to look into. Oh yeah, let's keep going. So this is the next one, a technocracy. Let's get into what a technocracy is. So it says, during the May 2026 state visit, high-stakes summit in Beijing. And I wanted to bring this out because this was a major event that, again, nobody paid attention to when Trump went to Beijing, right, to talk to the president of Xi Jinping, right? If I said it wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, whatever. It says at the Great Hall of the People. It says the high-level meeting included prominent government officials, right? It says top U.S. technology and financial executives and family members. So I put Trump meets with China. Who was there during the meeting, right? And I wanted to bring this out for all of y'all so y'all can understand what they're getting ready to do. So it says United States delegation. It says government officials and aides. So I ain't worried about them, but they all was there. Business executives. So this is what I want right here. So they got a delegation of prominent CEOs accompanied Trump to discuss trade and artificial intelligence. Now, y'all can think this is a goddamn coincidence. I really don't give a damn. You know what I'm saying? The Most High, he already told y'all in the scriptures. But you niggas don't want to believe it. You know, it is what it is. But for you that do believe and understand, you know, keep these things as a reminder to prepare you for the times. You can only prepare mentally and spiritually. You know, have faith, hope, charity. You know, fast and pray like the scriptures say. Pray for strength. You know. Anyway, so they said this includes Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX. Now, if you get into Tesla, right, the symbol of Tesla, that the letter E, if you get into that, you'll understand that it goes back into one of the letters, actually. And as you can see, the one where it says 60, that's sty. I think that's how you say it in the Greek, because it's high, because I think it's high, sty, stigma. If I said it wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. But that XEE, basically, through the pronunciation, that letter right there, the so-called 60, that's in the Tesla, you know. That's why all the time they always like to do, you know, the 666, the monster symbol, all those things. And a lot of people think they know about it, but they don't understand that they put a lot of their ideologies within music, within the foods, you know, within the designs on commercials, TV shows, cartoons, especially a lot of the things that your children watch, because, you know, children don't know. And parents, they look at the cartoons like, oh, they're not cursing. Oh, there's no sex. I'm going to let them watch it. Not understanding that they don't have to show these things like that no more. They could put their ideologies within these videos or within these movies, the music, and your children just eating it up. And your ass too. You eating it up. You know what I'm saying? You take it and you say, oh, I understand. Just like when they push a lot of this stuff in movies when they be like, oh, humans are just bad. No, bro, it's Esau. Esau is the cancer of the earth. They the ones that's destroying this place. And they will be destroyed by the power of the Most High God, YAHAWASHI. There's not no humans this and humans that. But a lot of our people even believe that. You know, they believe it. Yeah, we just bad people. No, I ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the one that's going over there, you know, and I obliterated Gaza. You know, I'm not the one going to country, you know, and turning them into wastelands. You know, and all these other things, and then making fun of it in movies and TV shows and books. And my people is eating it up because they don't know. They're fools. I've lied to them. They deceived. You know, they mixed. But anyway, it says Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, right? Tim Cook. It says, what is this? Apple. Jason Hong, Nvidia, right? Larry Fink, BlackRock. Now, BlackRock is very big. Everybody be talking about it. All of you that's buying that cryptocurrency, all that stuff, man, and y'all making fun of people because they don't have it, talking about some cryptocurrency is going to be the next currency. You's a damn fool. Cryptocurrency will not be the next currency. All what you're doing is you're making them money. Because what they do is, right, if you think about it, like, there's things where, like the credit cards, right? Now, sometimes companies will sell your credit card information to other companies, smaller companies, and they can use it to sue you. Now, if you're not paying attention, your ass gonna go to court and pay for something that has nothing to do with you. Now, they will sue you but what you can ask for is, what's the signature then? Or what's this, or what's that? And they're gonna close up their whole case because they know they're phonies. But a lot of people don't know about the money system. You know what I'm saying? They don't understand that this place is gonna fall and crash. They don't understand the money system, so they get themselves caught up in situations they shouldn't be caught up in. If they knew laws and the things of that nature, then they'll understand how to protect themselves in it. But anyway, so BlackRock, right? All that stuff with all that, that cryptocurrency things, that's not the new currency. You know, they're going to chip the people, you know, for those that get chipped. And it's not going to last long because, remember, Esau is going to quickly do these things because he knows his time is short. Y'all got to understand that. So he thinks that once he does it, he got everybody. You know, we good. Now we can start doing the things we want because they want to implement their, new world order because they think they're going to last forever. You know, and we're going to get into that in Revelations, where she said, I sit no widow. That pride that Babylon has. Now, if you've been noticing, a lot of people said they haven't been proud of, They said they wasn't really proud of America. They're not proud to be called to call themselves American citizens. You know, no one is proud to be called an American. That's what a lot of people are saying all over social media, all over the news, you know, because this place is about to begin to fall. Now, if you notice, you know, an omen showed through Mount Rushmore. If you look at it, because all the hailstone that came, it looked like the presidents that was up there, they were crying. You know, it looked like they was crying, man, because of the destruction that's here. So as you can see, so we got Larry Fink, BlackRock, right? David Solomon, Goldman Sachs, you know, Stephen man, you know, whatever, Blackstone, and they got Kelly Oakberg Bowen, right? And they got his families and stuff like that. But the important point was the business executives, right? They was there at that time doing when he went to Beijing. So when he went to Beijing, they had that meeting. Now, a lot of people saying, you know, it's a sad thing that he went over there to talk to the president to ask for help. He basically was begging for help, and which he was. You know, he needs help because he wants China to hurry up and push, you know what I'm saying, the plans that America can't do, you know, because they in debt. You know what I'm saying? So they pushing those things, you know, to do what? So they can hurry up and implement and chip the people. But like I said, niggas ain't listening to this shit, you know. And it's not even about, it's going to happen regardless, you know what I'm saying? But for our people, bro, you supposed to be believing on YAHAWASHI so that those things won't happen to you. But, you know, most of our people ain't going to hear it anyway. And they're going to be led into getting it due to how much death and destruction going to come due to all hell breaking loose. You know, they're going to be afraid and they're going to take it anyway. Like I said, because people benefits is going to be getting cut off. So, I wanted to get that. So, like I said, about the technocracy, the understanding of those things. Now, I want to show y'all something right here. It's a video. See if it shows.
The recent rollout of the flock camera system in the United States is not quite going to plan. The flock camera system is an AI-powered surveillance network.
Hold on, bear with me.
It reads number plates automatically. But more than that, it can even read bumper stickers. It can see if a car has roof racks. It has the make, the model, the year. And it can track all of your activity throughout an entire city. It knows where you've been, where you're going, everything. It tracks every vehicle.
Right, so you get the point. So they said people are dismantling the flock camera system, right? Now, why? Because if you don't understand what the flock camera system is, matter of fact, let's get that. What is the flock camera system? Let's get that, right? Bear with me. So it says the flock camera system is a widespread network of AI-powered surveillance cameras created by Flock Safety. It acts as a massive public-private surveillance platform used by law enforcement, neighborhood associations, and businesses to track and analyze vehicles in real time. Right, so it got image capture, vehicle fingerprinting, real-time hot list alerts. Right, that means that you know, if somebody is basically getting ready to rob a car, it will already alert the system. Now, a lot of people are fearing this because they were saying, what if this AI, because they know AI is out of order, you know, it just goes by whatever they put in the code, in the system, and it learns. So whatever Esau deemed as a crime, even if it wasn't a crime, AI is going to spot it as a crime. You know, and I'm telling you just what the people are afraid of. It's going to spot it as a crime. So let's say you just walking down the street. Let's say this AI is going by racial profiling. Just because you wearing a certain outfit, or let's say you live in a carrying license, you know, state, you know, open carry license state. You carrying your weapons and the flock system catch you, right? Now you're going to have police, you know, hawking you down and you wondering what you did wrong. And you may or may not get caught up. And now you got the people, as you saw in the video, they tearing down the flock AI systems. You know, certain cameras is in certain streets. It's already in many states. You know, and they're slowly but surely, without y'all looking, because y'all paid attention to foolish entertainment, they slowly but surely putting a lot of their AI ideologies in the schools, you know, and everything. Through their technology, they putting it on planes, in your cars, right? That's why they say these new cars are powered by AI, you know. So they say that some of the cars that people gonna have to use where it will scan your face, and it can stop your car if it looks like you know, you're not sitting up straight or something like that. You know, so a lot of people probably gonna get locked in their cars for no reason, can't get out. You know, a lot of things is gonna happen, man, because everybody think, oh, this is nice. We've been watching the movies, yeah, because they've been showing you their agenda the whole time. You know what I'm saying? You know, y'all can call this conspiracy theory. Niggas don't give a damn no more. You know what I'm saying? Excuse my French, but I'm just putting it like that because people don't care. You know what I'm saying? I never cared. If you don't believe it, you don't believe it. You know what I'm saying? Y'all don't believe something until it's fully out there. It's not called a belief no more. It's already out there. The evidence is already put out. So it's not really a belief. It's just now you're seeing something you didn't believe in. So it's not the same, right? So anyway, it says real-time hot list alerts. Cloud database. It says the captured images and data are uploaded to a centralized cloud platform. By default, this data is stored for 30 days before automatic deletion, though local retention laws can vary. Exactly. So meaning that you ain't going nowhere. You're going to be in the system forever, especially when they start implementing the mark of the beast. You in the system. You in the system. And they're already saying that when they chip the people, there's going to be certain things. You know, they say, oh, people don't got to go outside no more. They don't got to travel no more. You know, they're going to build homes where, you know, this is their plans. So they say they want to build homes where you no longer have to worry about going here or going there. They call them 15-minute cities or something like that. Let's get to that. Matter of fact, let's look that up. Look up what is a 15-minute city. It says a 15-minute city is an urban planning concept where residents can access most of their daily necessities within a 15-minute walk or bike ride from their homes. It says developed by urban scholar Carlos Moreno in 2016, the model aims to reduce car dependency, right? I mean, you're not going to need a car. They said lower carbon emissions and improve overall quality of life. That's what they say, which is not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? You ain't on the move. You know, you'll eventually get more sick. Like, bruh. Anyway, they said the proximity. It says essential services must sit physically close to residential areas. Hold on. Let me see. They talk about hold on. Let me look up this instead. Let's say AI. Hold on. I think AI cities. Let me see. What is a AI city? Let me see if they're going into it. There's a certain thing they're calling it. Let me see. All right, so here go right. An AI city represents the next generation of urban development, moving beyond the traditional smart city. So that's what they call it, smart cities. You know, smart city concept. But that's what they're calling it. I think it's called 15-minute smart cities or AI cities, something like that, right? They have a terminology for it. It says, while a standard smart city uses digital sensors to gather data for humans to analyze on the dashboards, an AI city uses embedded artificial intelligence to automatically predict urban needs, learn from patterns, and coordinate city services in real time. Now, I don't really care for it, but if y'all been noticing what they've been saying about, you know, GTA 6 as well, you know, which again, they about to implement 6G, they said that GTA 6 is going to be based off of AI, right? So a lot of people is fearing that it looked like, based off what they're telling us, it seemed like they're going to be using AI in GTA 6 to train it through how people are. Because they said that if you keep going to the same bridge, it's going to be locked down at a certain amount of time. If you keep going to, you know, a certain city, if you have a certain crime there, you know, they're going to lock down that whole city or that whole neighborhood. So you can't get out, or you're going to have to find ways to escape. So they say AI is basically going to learn from how the actions of the people are. Now, what do you think that's going to do? That's going to make people understand. I mean, that's going to make AI understand how people are in real life. Because the decisions that you make in the game is coming from your decisions within your own mind, your own brain. Right? So if you say, oh, I want to run over there, you think about it first and then you do it. So they're going to know. Most people, you know, when it comes to the GTA games, all they want to do is commit crimes anyway. You know, drive around, you know, rob, do things they're not supposed to be doing things they know they wouldn't do in real life, in the societies they live in. So they do it in the video games. But now they're making video games that's going to be implemented with AI. So what do you think AI going to do? It's going to take that, put it in the database, you know, and now we know how majority of the people are. See, they don't need every individual person. That's why a lot of people say, well, I'm hiding myself from this, I'm hiding myself from that. Listen, they don't need every individual person. They can go by census. So if they know 100 people, if they know 100, 50 out of 100 people let's say blue ball, red ball, right? 50 people will take the red ball and the other 50 will take the blue. You know what I'm saying? That's all the information they need. Who will take the red, who will take the blue? Let's say they say the red is the bad one. Right, so they know that majority of the people, half of the people is going to take red. So now they know how to deal with everybody. Those 50 people determine the whole city of 100. You know? There you go. Now we know if we can force people we want to take the blue one. Even the people that won't take the blue one, we going to make them take the blue one. Because the people that want the blue one, they're going to take the blue one. But the people that want the red one, they're not going to want to take the blue one unless we make them take the blue one. You know what I'm saying? So I'm using that as an example to show you that they don't need every single person. So even if many of y'all is thinking that, oh, there's some people they fighting against some AI data centers. Some towns and some cities is not accepting it. You know, they're not passing the law. Listen, they don't need everybody, bro. They know a lot of people. They know majority of people are not going to accept these things. That's why a lot of people can't believe that the mark or the beast is the microchips. They're like, who will accept this? You're right. Who will? But if we force it, we cut off your benefits. We cut off what you call life. A lot of y'all will take it. But some of y'all will try to fight back, which will implement, you know, battlegrounds in certain areas. You know, people to starve out and die out. Sicknesses and famines in certain areas. But everyone in America has been living in ease. No one has been in a predicament. Now, when I say no one, I'm talking about in general. Has been in a predicament of you really got to survive, you know. And when you really in a survival mindset, you know, you're going to make any decision to get there. This is why we supposed to be praying for mercy and compassion and strengthen the spirit in our minds so that we can always be ready in that time and not make dumb decisions like everybody else, following the crowd and following stupidity. Remember, the Lord said wisdom and knowledge should be the stability at our times and strength of salvation in YAHAWAH. So that's what we have to have. Wisdom and knowledge be establishing and strength of salvation. Make sure our mind is always on the kingdom. You know, lay up your treasures in heaven. You know, are you really willing to lose your life for this truth if it comes down to it? You know? And I only say these things because I'm saying this truly from, you know, what the scriptures say. Many brothers and sisters, oh yeah, I'm ready to do this, I'm ready to do that. And then when real hardships come in their life, they give up. You know, everything we're going through is a test for that bigger test, that last great test, our temptation. Are you going to take that chip? You know? Are you going to accept the beast? Are you going to bow down to Baal? Or bow down to the dragon, you know? Or are you going to be like Azariah, you know, and the other two men where they didn't bow down, they got cast into the furnace? What happened though? They cried unto YAHAWASHI, and YAHAWASHI, which was that fourth man, remember it said that it came upon them and it laid a mist, a watery mist, a cool watery mist. So the fire did not kill them or touch them. And then they started giving all honor and glory to YAHAWASHI in all things. So understand, you standing to death. And let's say you do. Let's say this brother does die. Let's say you do die. Yet, you'll come back. You know, you'll come back. When YAHAWASHI return, you'll come back and you'll be rewarded. Right? Matter of fact, let's get that. Let's go to, bear with me. Let's go to Revelations. I believe it's 20. Let me see. Where it talks about the dead. It says, blessed are those that die. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. Bear with me. I think it's in Revelations. Let me see. I think it's in Revelations 21. So we're saying true. I'm trying to look for it. He said, and their works do follow them. Hold on, and their works do follow them. All right, so here you go. Revelations 14:13. It says, and I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, write, and blessed are the dead which died in the Lord from henceforth. It says, yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors and their works do follow them. So this is the scripture I was talking about right here. You know, it gives a perfect understanding of, you know, some will die. You know what I'm saying? For YAHAWASHI, die for this truth. Yet, like he said, saith the Spirit, it says that they may rest from their labors and their works do follow them, meaning that they didn't die in vain. So I just wanted to show you that to get that understanding, or to give you that understanding. So they said smart city versus AI city. They said the key shift, right? So they got AI city built as an adaptive learning ecosystem. You know, all these things that they say, you know, and they're going to try to make it sound as good as possible because they know that some people, they're going to accept the concept of what they push out, but they're not going to understand the actual meaning of what they're talking about. So anyway, let's go to this video. So you got brain-computer interface, Neuralink biological interface system to cortex, what they call it BISC, transhumanism, and so on, right? All these things they're going to give, you know, they're going to give to the people. It's all going to be involved around the same thing. The BISC system is what they're going to start implementing through bioengineered technology. So let's watch this.
You did that with your brain.
I didn't think I would draw or paint ever again. I remember when I was able to first create something, my thought was, I haven't written my name in 20 years. It felt like you just received a little piece of yourself back.
Right, so now she's saying, you know, she can write again and draw again. You know, and they've been showing this a lot, like I said, in videos where they'll post somebody with deformities that took the Neuralink, you know, and now they're able to do all these things, miracles and stuff. You know, that's what they like to say. Because if you remember what Elon Musk said, actually, let's see if AI gonna have it, right? Let's see. Did Elon Musk say that the Neuralink, I probably spelled it wrong, hold on. The Neuralink will have, what they say? I think he said will have Jesus level miracles. And these are his words, right? Let's see if they're gonna have it. Probably spelled it wrong. It's alright. So here you go right here. So it says, yes, Elon Musk did say that Neuralink technology will achieve Jesus-level miracles. He first made these statements during a virtual appearance at the Samsung International Smart Mobility Summit and subsequently doubled down on the phrase on social media, right? I mean, he said it again, you know. Now, when someone says something twice or three times, that means they really mean it, you know. But what the third time going to be when they really implement it? It says the original quote while discussing the goals of his brain-computer interface BCI company, Musk stated enabling people This is his words. Enabling people to control a computer with their mind, and the completely blind to see are Jesus level miracles. So that means that they can heal the blind, they're going to heal the lame, people can walk, they can talk again. These are the things that they're saying. And a lot of people are going to accept this because look at what's going on in this place. Most people are what? Are filled with sorrows. They're filled with sickness and disease and many things of that nature. So they're going to accept, a lot of them is going to accept these things for healing purposes. They're going to think it's for healing purposes, but it's not going to be for healing. Anyway, it says he argued that the Neuralink does not get the credit it deserves. He empathized that when technology can solve severe medical limitations, it crosses into territory traditionally viewed as miraculous. The so-called Jesus-level goals must explicitly use the biblical comparison to define Neuralink's long-term medical milestones. Curing blindness, he says, reversing paralysis, right? And all these other things. And these are the things people are waiting for because they love Elon Musk, right? They think he's a good man when we know he's not. But they think he is, but whatever. Anyways, so I put don't take it. So we got Exodus 23:1. It says, you shall not spread a false report. You shall not join hands with a wicked man to be a malicious witness. Now what is a malicious witness? Now let's get into that word witness. Right? Witness synonyms, right? And the reason why I'm using the scripture, we're going to get an understanding. So they said bystander, onlooker, eyewitness, observer, spectator, testifier, a person who gives evidence or testimony, right? So the Lord said what? He said, you shall not join hands with a wicked man to be a malicious witness. And you being a bystander or you being a testimony, that means that's you taking the chip, the mark of the beast. That's you joining hands with them because that's what they're doing it for. They said no one can buy or sell unless they take this mark of the beast. But we know it is to be the RFID chip or whatever they call it, right? It could be biotechnology engineering, interface, brain chipping, whatever they want to call it. You take that, that's you joining hands with the wicked, right? And then it says, I got Psalms 5 and 6. You destroy those who speak lies. Yahawah abhors the bloodthirsty and deceitful man. And who's the bloodthirsty and deceitful man? It's Esau. All over history, they have 250 years of history of them doing blood. Had them having bloodlust and them being deceitful, like with today, or recently. America started going to war with Iran again. They both started exchanging missiles at each other. Why? Now, during the conference that he had, with NATO, and Zelensky, that was one of the worst conversations he ever had with the people. And a lot of the things he called Zelensky, Putin, he called Iran, Japan, he has dementia, bro. You know what I'm saying? He's destroyed mentally, but because he's deceitful. Now, he blamed Iran on the reason why he attacking them that night at the time that he said that. The reason why he attacked them was because, they're bad people. They lied. You know what I'm saying? And they're not, they're not genuine. So he can't make a deal with them. We told y'all America and Iran would never make a deal. Y'all believed it. And now they destroying each other harder. Well, they ain't attacking America, but, they're destroying each other's ships and stuff like that, which is going to cause that global food crisis. All these things are coming. People have been saying it before me. It's been written thousands of years before. But for some reason, a lot of people don't believe that the Most High is allowing these things to happen because it's prophecy. These things must happen so that the new kingdom can come on the earth. This kingdom has to be destroyed first. That's 2 Ezra chapter 6, verse 9. We know this. Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. We know that scripture. For those that do know, for those that don't know, now you know. Right? That these things must come to pass so Esau's kingdom can be destroyed so that Jacob's kingdom can now rule forever. That's what the everlasting life is. Anyway, Psalm 7:14-15, it says, behold, the wicked man conceives evil, right? Right? So they're born, they conceive evil. It's born out of them. That's all they do is do evil things. It says, and is pregnant with mischief and gives birth to lies. He makes a pit, digging it out, and falls into the hole that he has made. And how? Because the Lord said that, in Psalms 37, he told us not to fret over the evildoers and the things that they shall do. Because all they're doing is leading themselves into a trap, especially Proverbs 1. Proverbs 1 is prophecy. He's talking to his elect, right? Don't fall into the hands of the wicked. Don't let them entice you to do evil. For they think to do harm unto the innocent, unto the meek, unto the righteous. Yet, all they're doing is lying wait for their own blood. They're going to fall into their own trap. And that's what's going to happen to this place. All the damnable destruction that they're doing on the earth, even to this day, what they did to Cuba and many others, is going to come upon them. And it's going to come upon them hard. And then the destruction is going to come. Which is that fiery indignation that the Most High is going to bring upon this place. So that's why he said and falls into the hole that he has made. Remember, he said the blind leads the blind into a ditch. And a lot of people don't understand what that's that understanding for Esau as well. They're blinded. They're blinded by their what? Their pride. This place, United States, is blinded by its pride. They say, I sit in a widow. They think they're going to last forever. But the Most High already set it up. He said, I will throw thee down. He will cast them into the lake of fire. Right? It says, I put Psalms 10:7. It says, the wicked's mouth is filled with cursing and deceit and oppression. Under his tongue are mischief and iniquity. Right? So same thing. They speak of lies, and a lot of people believe it because, they're deceived by the witchcraft of this place. Everything they put on social media, everything they put throughout the world, people eat it up and they think it's good. And a lot of the citizens of this place think that this place is going to last forever. It's not going to last forever. All right. And we, to be honest, the truth is that we at the end anyway. But they lie to you. They call it global warming, a climate crisis, Super El Nino. Listen, these are the things that the Lord already spoke before out of the mouth of the prophets, that these things will come to pass. He said, when you see the earthquakes, and when you see the uproars of the people, he said, then know that this is the time where the Most High is beginning to visit the world in which he made. So the Most High is getting ready to visit the world through his son, YAHAWASHI. We are already here at that time. He's just not here yet, because we know. And when I say when he coming, I'm talking about, when the missiles come and destroy Babylon. That's when, remember, he said he shall come in the midst of that and deliver up his elect. And they're literally going to go through the fire, right? Gold tried in the fire. He's going to take them out of the fire and what? And they're going to be, given those spiritual bodies as they're being lifted up into the chariots. But again, people don't believe these things. And they don't want to believe, so they make themselves ignorant to it. They're afraid of it. So it says, woe be, so that's why I put this here. Woe be to fearful hearts and faint hands and the sinner that goeth two ways. Right, so don't be a fearful heart. The Lord told us to be strong, the strength of salvation. When our temptation comes, when they start implementing these things, don't fall and take it, no matter what comes upon you. Right? It says, woe unto him that is faint-hearted. Now, a lot of people say, people say that now because they don't have no faith. So when you say things like this, they think you're being prideful. They think you're better than somebody when all you're doing is trying to teach them and give them understanding. Because that's what the Most High told his servants to do. But just like the scripture say, they want to hear sweet things and smooth things. They don't want to take heed to these things. So they call you prideful, or they think, like I said, they think you saying that you're better than them or something like that. When that's not even the case at all. If you love your people, you're going to warn them of the terrible times that's coming. Right? So it says, woe unto him that is faint-hearted, for he believeth not. Therefore shall he not be defended. Exactly. So because you don't believe, the Lord said you will not be defended. Because you don't believe on the one who is to defend you. When that time comes, you won't be defended because you didn't believe before. You didn't have faith, hope, and charity before. You know? And just like the Lord said, they're going to come and persecute you. You know, they're going to come and cast some of you into prison. Because they're going to make everybody believe that this is hate speech. You know, it's funny how Babylon, right, America want to push hate speech. And when we say the things we say, yet they have committed every crime you can think of, you know, on the earth to everybody. Yet they call things we say hate speech because we read them from the Bible. Like, come on, man. You got to get that through your mind. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, come on. This place, calling people hate speech, yeah, okay. Hate crimes, okay. Right? But just like the Lord said, this place is full of confusion. So that's why, you know, people are confused. Anyway, it says, woe unto you that have lost patience. So even those people that have lost patience means what? You got a lot of people that say, well, we got to do something about this. We got to fight back. No, bro. Your guns ain't going to save you. Stop protesting. It ain't going to save you, bro. Stop getting into politics. It's not going to save you. Okay? That's what it means by lost patience. It's written in the scriptures the Lord told us not to do these. And he told us to wait on him. Because he's going to bring the vengeance. You know, you're going to the enemy to ask for benefits that you're not really going to get in the way that you think. And just like the scriptures say, it says that, you know, you sow all these things, but you only reap little. You know, you make these clothes, but it's not enough. You know, like so the Lord is saying you living in this society, but you don't have true peace. The things that you're going through, it's a little peace here and there, but it ain't full peace. So you're comfortable with it. But the Lord said, consider your ways and see how this is not good. He said that in the book of Haggai, if I'm not mistaken, when they supposed to, when he told them, you know, you build your houses and you do all these things, yet you don't go and try to build the house of YAHAWASHI. You don't go and build the house of the Lord. Which spiritually, in this sense, building the house of the Lord is teaching the people and warning the people at the times to come, telling them to repent in these things. Repent means just to change your ways. So you consider them and then you change them. So you're building the body of Hamashiach Yahawashi, who the world ignorantly so-called Jesus Christ, right? So anyway, it says, woe unto you that have lost patience. And what will ye do when the Lord shall visit you? Right? And they can't do nothing. So anyway, it says, they that fear the Lord will not disobey his word, and they that love him will keep his ways. Right? Because they trust in YAHAWAH. They trust in the Lord. So they're going to do the things that he says, because the things that he says, he said that if you do these things, you may live, that you will be saved. And right? And let's get that understanding, actually. When he said, he that endureth unto the end. Let's get that. He that endures unto the end. That he said that same shall be saved. Let's get that. Here you go, right here. Matthew 24:13. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. Right? Let's read Matthew 10:22. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved. Right? So those that endure unto the end, that means when Yahweh shall return, right, shall be saved. No one's saved right now. We have hope in the salvation. That's why it's called hope for elect. Hope in the salvation, or believe on the Father in the name of the Son. Then what? In the times of the end, Lord willing, that we be of those that be saved. You're saved when Yahweh shall come and deliver his elect. That's when you're saved. Right? That's the gospel. Anyway, where was I at? Sirach. So Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 16. It says, and they that fear the Lord will seek that which is well, pleasing unto him, and they that love him shall be filled with the law. See, those that love him will be filled with the law. And remember, it says that we're not saved, we're not justified by the law, but we're justified through our faith. The whole point of this is having faith in YAHAWASHI. What are we having faith in? That he will protect us in the evil time when it comes. And it's very close. So I got Revelation 18. I said your kingdom will fall, America, right? So let's go to Revelation 18. And we're going to read, because Revelation 18 is literally about the destruction of Babylon. So let's start from verse 1. It says, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Right? So this place is filled with darkness, witchcraft, evilness. So let's skip on down. Let's go to verse 6. Let's start from verse 5. It says, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and YAHAWASHI have remembered her iniquities. So just like the Lord remembered the iniquities of Sodom and Gomorrah and those other 3 cities, because it was 5 cities that got destroyed. It wasn't just Sodom and Gomorrah. It was 5 cities that got destroyed because of their wickednesses. Like Pompeii got destroyed by a volcano. The same volcano that erupted recently. That's I think it's in Italy or something like that, or it's near Rome, and it's somewhere in Rome, in Pompeii. That great volcano. It's a super volcano. It erupted and destroyed all the inhabitants of Pompeii due to all the wickednesses that they were doing. Or in the times of Noah, like the scriptures say in Matthew 24. He said that we shall live in the times like it should be like in the days of Noah. So he remembering the iniquities of this place, America, right? It says, reward her even. And this is what the angel is saying. It says, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled to her double. Right? So what did she fill up in her cup? Let's read where is it at? It talks about the blood of the saints. I probably gotta read. Oh, here go right here. Verse 7, how much she have glorified herself, right? How did they glorify themselves? Just like the video I made a couple days ago. Where they say, we're the greatest country on earth, the most righteous country on earth, which is a lie, They say they got the greatest military on earth and the technology, which is wrong. Again, we got millions of dollars of military equipment is getting destroyed easily by Iranian Sahar drones. They ran out of equipment that they had to take some of that equipment out of South Korea, leaving them defenseless, and what happened once they left them defenseless? North Korea fired nuclear missiles towards the sea or the ocean that sits between South Korea and Japan. And South Korea and Japan was telling America, like, what are you doing? And then recently China started testing their nuclear bombs. Now Taiwan is afraid. These are the rumors of wars that that Yahawashi was talking about. Our Lord Yahawashi, was talking about to the disciples. Anyway, it says, how much she have glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, I am no widow, and she see no sorrow. Why does she say she's no widow? Because remember, this place, America, is what? It's more of a business. It's more of a bigger business than it is a society for real, But it's filled, this place it sits on many waters, right? Many nations and merchants come here and they buy and sell from this place. So when this place is destroyed, that's why they say that the merchants are going to mourn. Here go right here. It says, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord YAHAWASHI who judgeth her. It says, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. Right, and that's talking about the ICBM missiles. That great fiery destruction that will cause great smoke. Everyone's going to see it. You even have people that's most likely going to see it on the news when they see this place destroyed. You know, because remember it said everybody will see it. You know? So it says, and the merchants of the earth, verse 11 says, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. Right? So all the things, verse 12 on down to verse 13, all the things that they have had, that they glorified in, will cease. Let's go on down to verse 24. It says, and in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. Right. So all the people they have killed, right, the children, you know, even it said the blood of the prophets, meaning that, because remember, some of the prophets are going to die. You know, they're going to be killed and persecuted because they teach the truth. You know, YAHAWASHI told those that believe on him to prepare for that. You know, if you be of those that's going to be persecuted. And then it says, and of saints. You know, so that's the children of Israel in general. You know, we hear the lynchings. You know, we see the police brutality and all these other things. And many of the people are killed in this place due to sickness, diseases, generational diseases. It says, and of all that which were slain upon the earth. So even all the people that they have slain, they have destroyed Gaza. You know, they dropped 2 atomic bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima many years ago. You know, the things that they did into, you know, the natives. They killed millions of them. You know, even down in there during the kingdoms of Hispaniola. They obliterated them, you know, through their military might. So the Most High already know. Remember, you can't hide from the Most High. Not even your thoughts. So everything that America has done is written. And it's time for them to be judged for it. It's just that simple. Whether you want to believe it or not. So, anyway, we got Job 20:6, right? To back up the understanding of Revelation 18. It says, though his excellency mount up to the heavens, meaning that they think that them implementing the microchip, the mark of the beast, and their 4th industrial revolution, right? The technocracy, they think that that's going to last forever. You know, they think that's going to implement their new world order, you know, and them ruling in a newer light. It says, in his head reach unto the clouds, right? You know, you try to fly rocket ships, you know, towards the sky. You know, your satellites and all those things, your planes, your jets. It says, yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. They which have seen him shall say, where is he? Right, they're going to say, what happened to this place? You know, what happened? It's going to be gone. It's going to be a desert. It says, he shall fly away as a dream and shall not be found. Yea, he shall be chased away as a vision of the night. You know? So, even Job understood this. See, when people talk about Job, you know, they talk about, you know, what he went through. But they don't talk about how the Most High was giving him wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the future, of the times that's coming. You know? So he seen how this place was going to be destroyed. And of course, they didn't know it was called America, so it was called Mystery Babylon. You know what I'm saying? And even if you don't want to believe it, if you live here in America, how come other nations outside of America know that this place is Babylon? How do they know that this place is spiritual Babylon? Because they understand the prophecies. To an extent, of course, but they still understand it. They understand that America gotta be the place of Babylon. You know? And the evidence, it shows it too much. But anyway, so I said have faith, Akim, right? So we got Psalms 27:10. It says, when my father and my mother forsake me, then Yahweh will take me up. Trust ye not. And I got Micah chapter 7, verse 5. Trust ye not in a friend. Put ye not confidence in a God. Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom. Verse 7. Therefore I will look unto Yahweh, and I will wait for the power of my salvation. My power will hear me, right? My God will hear me. So even Micah understood that, you know, the trust in the Most High God, YAHAWASHI, over all things. Especially in that time, in the evil time. Because that's going to be the one to protect you in that day. Lord willing. So Luke 21:16, It says, and ye shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinsfolk and friends. Some of you shall they cause to be put to death. That's when they implement the persecutions. You know, now, of course, not all going to be persecuted. Because remember, he said some of you should be cast into prison. But either way, the understanding that Yahawashi is giving here, right? The Messiah he's giving the understanding that what? To be ready for this. You know, to be ready for that. It says, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But there shall not an hair of your head perish. You know. Now, some people read this and they be like, well, didn't a lot of the disciples and apostles die? Yeah, but what people don't understand is that there's something that's called regeneration, which a lot of people that read the Bible don't understand. They don't believe it and they don't understand it. They're going to come back in the kingdom. They're going to be given those spiritual bodies and come back in the kingdom. So when he said they shall not perish, right, it means that in the second death, that fiery destruction. It says, in your patience, possess ye your souls. And I put it in the New American Standard Bible version so you can read it. It says, by your endurance, ye will gain your lives. Now, we just read, he said, woe unto them that has lost patience. But for those that do have patience, for those that do wait, for those that do truly, wholeheartedly trust, he said, you will gain your lives. Now, we know the scriptures say, it said, he that will save his life, you know, shall surely lose it. But he that loses his life, and for my sake, shall surely find it, roughly paraphrasing. So that means that those that's ready to be put to death for this truth, you know, they're, even if they're not of those that be persecuted, you know, the Most High is going to reward them when Yahweh shall return, you know, because they endured unto the end. Psalms 50:14 says, offer unto Yahweh BAHASHAM thanksgiving and pay thy vows unto the Most High. Right? And we doing this by making our bodies a living sacrifice. You know, it says, and call upon me in the day of trouble. See, great tribulation, the hour of temptation, the evil time. It says, I will deliver thee and thou shalt glorify me. So it's simple as day. You know, if we know that the Most High tells the truth and he's not a God that he shall lie, I mean, he's not a man that he shall lie, then we must believe that he's going to deliver those that trust on him, no matter what happens. You know, and some people say, oh, okay, but then when stuff start happening, they give up. So anyway, Revelations 2:10 says, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. And he that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. He that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death. Right, the second death is the thermonuclear destruction is coming to America. But he said, be thou faithful unto death. So a lot of people is going to try to cut off this truth because Esau, the elites of Esau, they know the prophecies. They understand the times. They're trying to cut this off to stop the liberation of the people. You know, but only the elect is, you know, they can't stop it. Even if they do and try to persecute those that believe, you still can't stop the prophecies. You stopping the voices that speak it ain't going to stop the work of the Lord being done. You understand? So Revelations 3:10 says the same thing. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience. See that? You got to have patience. Right? Remember, he said that these prophecies are faithful and true and must shortly be done. Right? It says, I will. And that's why time is speeding up as well. You know, a day feel like minutes. You know, an hour feel like seconds. And so on and so forth. That's why time is speeding up. Because remember, the Lord said these things going to come to pass. He didn't say if it's going to take long or whatever, you know. He said just for a little while, you know. So it says, which shall come, he said, and I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation. I mean, if you keep someone, it means you're protecting them. Remember, the Lord said he shall keep them quiet from the day of evil. So they shall be good, you know, in the day of evil. That's, I think that's Psalms 37 in the last verse. Or is it Proverbs? No, I think it's Psalm 37 in the last verse. It says, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the earth. Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. Right? That means they don't take the kingdom from you by doing what? Because you failed and you was faint-hearted, you know, and you didn't believe. So they took your crown, meaning they took your kingdom. You know, they took your lot, you know, in them chariots. It says, him that overcometh will make a pillar in the temple of my power, right? Now, we got to understand, we know that in 2nd Ezra chapter 7, it gives an understanding that if you be overcome, you shall suffer as thou hast said. He said, but if you get the victory, and this is what it's talking about right here, getting the victory. He that overcometh, that means overcometh the flesh, overcometh the beast, right? They don't take the mark and all those things, shall overcome and shall be rewarded. It says, and he shall go no more out, and I will write upon him the name of my power and the name of the city of my power, which is New Jerusalem, right? Which means that they shall be given the rewards of the kingdom, right? If you have the name of the Father, remember the Lord said those that are marked, with the name, spare them, but those that are not marked, they shall perish. So that means if you don't have the book, your name not written in the book of life. You're not given, you're not of the elect. So that's why we pray and hope that we be of the elect, and endure to the end, like the scripture said. It says, which cometh down out of heaven from my power, and I will write upon him my new name. And people think this, this literal new name. No, it's just, you're going to be given that office. When you write a signature, you put a signet upon them, right? Let's get there right quick. A signet. Right? Be like, what is a signet? Just like when the Lord gave it to Zerubbabel, out of the mouth of the prophet Haggai. He gave him, remember he said, I made, he said you are chosen, right? Zerubbabel was chosen. And the Most High gave him a signet to wear. It says a signet is a small personalized seal used to authenticate documents by leaving an impression in hot wax, right? So it says historically it has served as an official signature carrying the unique authority of its owner. See that? So for us that truly believe, we're not going to take it, right? AhBa RaTazah, that we don't take it. Lord willing that we don't take it. And he give us that strength like he gave to YAHAWASHI, like he gave to the Messiah, But we want that signet of YAHAWASHI, our Lord, We want the signet of the Messiah. We want the signet of Hamashiach. Be sealed, as the elect, as the hopeful elect, to be rewarded and delivered up in the chariots, not to taste of the second death, of the bitterness that's coming to this place. So I pray that this edifies you all that's listening. For those that are new, this is the understanding, and like I said, keep praying, keep fasting, as well. Pray for mercy, pray for protection, right? Pray for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And pray not just mercy upon yourself, but upon your house, right? And upon the elect, whoever the elect may be. Pray that you be of the elect. Pray for hope, faith, strength in the spirit, strength in your mind, because, again, these times are very close, right, if you want to believe it or not. So we just got to trust in YAHAWAH. So, again, I'm going to give all honor and glory to YAHWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHWASHI, BAHASHAM, RADASH, call Allah YAHWAH, BAHASHAM, HAMASHIACH, YAHWASHI, BAHASHAM, RADASH, right? Shalom to you. Pray that we be the elect. Shalom to you, brothers and sisters, of young to old and old to young. Stay in the spirit and continue to be protected in the righteous hand of YAHWAH. Shalom.